Hello friends, this is Growl. The official item level loot tables for Season 1 of Shadowlands Mythic Plus have been data mined, and most Mythic Plus dungeon players are pretty upset. I mentioned it briefly in my last video going over the changes in depth, and there was a ton of comments from people frustrated about the loot changes. In this video, I'm going to go over what's changing with Mythic Plus loot and why I think that you shouldn't be worried about it. First, let's look at exactly what was found out. Here is the end of the dungeon and weekly chest rewards for the first season of Shadowlands. The highest loot you can get from Mythic Plus is from 15 keys or higher, which drops 210 item level loot. Another added change is that there will be only one piece of loot baseline from the end of dungeon chest, so your chance of getting the item you want goes significantly lower without a group of friends armor stacking or at least a nice person willing to trade. The weekly Great Vault is slightly different, with its highest level being from Mythic Plus 14. If you complete at least one 14 key each week, you will be getting one 226 piece from your Great Vault every reset day. This item level doesn't mean much to most people yet, so let's look at raid in comparison. Here are the raid difficulties. We can see Heroic is dropping 213 from the first 8 bosses and 220 from the last 2. This means that heroic loot from the raid is going to be higher item level from the highest loot you can get from any end of dungeon rewards. Heroic raid is generally fairly easy to pug for most people, at least after the first couple weeks of the tier. This nearly invalidates any item that you can get out of the end of dungeon chest as something you would want to use or farm. Unless it's a really specific piece like a trinket, with the way item level works now, there's nearly no point in having it. Dungeons can be used to gear up for raid quicker, but as soon as you start doing heroic or mythic, there's no point in running dungeons anymore for loot, because anything you get will be replaced quickly. Why was this change made? At first glance, it seems like a pretty silly idea. Over the last few years, Blizzard has sort of encouraged a play what you want gearing system that rewards decent items for both dungeons and top level PvP. Now it seems like they're starting to revert a bit, going back to the original raid is the best loot, period mentality. A likely reasoning is just for the launch of the raid. Generally, it's good practice for a serious competitive guild to run many Mythic Plus dungeons for hours and hours before you even set foot into the heroic raid. That way you can trade the item that you get to your friends that may need it, bypassing the forced personal loot system. Now that Mythic Plus will be lower than Heroic, there'll be no way to trade a Heroic or Mythic item level piece before you get it yourself from the raid or weekly chest. It seems a bit hypocritical for Blizzard to talk about wanting to increase player agency in the expansion and then making a change like that. Many people were quite upset by these changes. They took to Twitter to yell at Blizzard for ruining their Mythic Plus experience. They lined up at the gates of Blizzard Entertainment when a bright light flashed from the heavens.
Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and today I'm making a tier list of...
Never mind, just Dratnos. In Dratnos' tweet he said, "Ran some numbers on the new Great Vault. If you are a Mythic Plus only gamer who does no PvP or raid at all, you can expect to be fully Mythic geared twice as fast compared to a one item weekly cache. Even if you only do 4 keys a week, it's faster." I'm not good at math, but I'm going to trust him on this one, and I'll leave a link to the tweet in the description of the video if you want to go argue with him on Twitter. Although the changes I listed hurt Mythic Plus gearing badly, there is one other change coming out to Shadowlands, the Great Vault. The Great Vault allows you a choice from your weekly cache depending on how much and how difficult content you complete. This means if you are doing multiple dungeons each week, not even including PvP or raid, you will still have much more choice in what you get from the weekly cache. You'll be able to fill out your equipment more quickly, and you won't be stuck using a low-level belt or pants because you've gotten the same ring out of your chest 3 weeks in a row. Having choices from the weekly cache gives you an incredibly huge injection of not just items, but useful best-in-slot items. Although end of dungeon rewards are basically worthless for people who raid heroic or higher, if you're a person without a guild and no desire to raid, you'll actually reach best in slot faster than previous expansions. If you're one of these people, you can take a sigh of relief. You aren't going to have to stack into a 20-man raid listening to mouth breathers, poorly configured voice activation in Discord if you want to push high keys. But that still leaves the question, is the system good? Warning, the following contains my opinion and I will likely make people angry over the internet. I think the weekly chest is terrible. I'm playing an RPG. I want to conquer a dangerous dungeon or slay a giant demon to get my loot. I don't want to roll out of bed in the morning and open my weekly chest like it's some text from my mom. Weekly chest is one of the absolute worst loot delivery systems in any game I've ever played. Blizzard is afraid to give people good rewards for completing high-level dungeons or PvP. How would I fix it? Well, I think you should give people good items from doing high Mythic Plus or winning high MMR arenas. If you want to give people Mythic Raid loot for completing non-raid content, then give it to them. If you're worried about guilds having to farm it for Mythic progression, well, then just make it not drop for the first month or so when the new raid drops. Also, this gear should be hard, just like Mythic Raid gear can be, so it shouldn't be just farmable by anybody who wants to walk into PvP or Mythic Plus. It should be reserved for the best, most organized groups, just like the raid gear is. That's most of what I wanted to cover in this video. The TLDR is that the end of dungeon loot is bad now, however, you're going to be getting so much better loot from your weekly cache that you won't even notice it anyway. You're still likely going to need to raid if you want to stay competitive at the top level for the last few bosses and special trinkets, but otherwise you can keep doing what you're doing and it'll all be okay. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be releasing videos covering Shadowlands beta and then guides and walkthroughs when the game is released. Happy keying!